Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first podcast of Under the Hood from Marketing Car. My name is Kelly, and my guest is my dear friend Shannon, who is joining me today. So, first, housekeeping. Please like, share, and follow us on all social media platforms and all podcast platforms. And we'd actually like to hear your two and your thoughts. Under the Hood is for small businesses, all small businesses in the United States and elsewhere in the world. Small businesses make up the backbone of the United States. And it's people like Shannon and I and you who are hearing this that makes the world spin around. So please share, comment, or give us ideas of topics you'd like to hear. And if you're a small business and want to be on the podcast, please come to marketingcar.com and submit your application to be considered. We'd love to hear from you. So, housekeeping out of the way. Um, Shannon and I, like I said in the beginning, are good friends, and we go decades back in time, just a few days or two. And she is a serial entrepreneur like myself. And that means that we create businesses, multiple businesses. Sometimes you hang on them, sometimes you sell them, but we create multiple businesses as we see needs or opportunities. So for me, Marketing Car is one of those businesses because I'm deeply passionate about small businesses and empowering business owners who are small to put their best foot forward or have the most successes. So, Shannon, talk about your serial entrepreneurship. Like, what's underneath your hat for doing businesses?
Yeah, it's great to meet everybody. I've known Kelly for a long time. And yes, I have grown up in the traditional business sense where I worked my way up the ladder from being a project manager all the way to running international companies. And I realized that trajectory was taking me farther away from what I truly loved in the world. And so I started to change my trajectory to owning at least my work and what I work on and what I give my energy and time to, while preserving the bookends of my day and having flexibility for my family. I'm a mom and a wife, and I love making the world a better place. And so, obviously, all of that takes time and energy. And I was hell bent on not letting corporations take that away from me. However, I do believe in corporations. And so, what I do, one of my um, entrepreneurial aspects of my life is that I am a consultant. And I go into these large corporations now on my own footing and with my own rules and guidelines on how I'll execute work. But I still go in there to influence these large corporations and these leaders to help them see humanity in the work that they're doing and connect to how they're executing their work and to make sure that all of that change and transformation happens smoothly and with the best outcome and impact for all. So that's one thing that I do, and I would say that that takes up the majority of my time. But while I'm doing that, I want to get even more independent. I want things to be running without all of my fingers in it and with all of my energy. And I have a big, audacious goal to reduce my dependency on corporations even more. So for me, I started two other businesses. One, I flip land. I am a land investor. I never thought I'd really say that, but I own about 20 acres in Arizona. And what I do is I help buy land that nobody sees value in, and I help to connect it and provide affordable ways for people to then purchase this land so that they can live out their dreams of generational wealth, freedom, being able to have something of their own. I even had a guy buy land from me as a birthday present to his wife to just say, like, if anything fails, we will have this piece of land that we can call our own in and of itself and outright, no matter where the world goes. So it's really a very special mission that aligns with also what I want to do in my own life, which is own more land here in the in Minnesota, Wisconsin area. So, and then I also do peer-to-peer lending and investing where I help people um, who need funding or capital. And I have ways of doing that without getting banks involved and all of that bureaucracy. It's just person to person, small transactions. And this then helps people who need maybe just a little extra capital to get them out of debt, or maybe it allows them to reinvest in their business, whatever that might be. So, right now, those are the three things. I also have a give back component where I do women's empowerment and self defense and youth empowerment and self defense. So I go out into either businesses or women's groups, youth groups. I also, have a partner in crime that I work with who helps with a lot of the self defense aspects. And we go out to teach individuals how to empower themselves in their life, regain control of things they may have given their power out to in their lives. But we also teach them how to defend themselves and look for ways to prevent themselves from getting into icky situations. So, all in all, those are the core things I do. And of course, I look at my vision wall and I've got even more ideas up there that maybe someday I'll have some
Yes.
energy to entertain.
Yeah. And, your common theme is helping, like helping others, connecting others, empowerment and joy, like threading through yours. Mine's the same. How do I empower small businesses? How do I communicate? How do I increase? How do we bring more good and less stress and strife into the world? I mean, it's a really boiled down version. But I think with both you and I, because you and I talk quite a bit and we laugh quite a bit at this, is and I hear from people, and you probably hear from people, and they're like, "Well, I can't do this," or "How did you get started?" or "You're so amazing." And you're like, you just have to try it. Like you just have to put your foot out there. You and I sometimes didn't know diddly squat with some of our businesses, like how they work or how they work. Like I just started a nonprofit here in Minnesota and I've never stood up a nonprofit before. And I just am like, well, AI, Google, and I are going to be besties while we figure this out. Like, how does that work? What paperwork do I need to file with the state and the federal government? Like, but what I didn't do is say no or stand in fear. I was just like, no, I need to try this and I need to figure out along the way. And I may have to drink more tea to help me like get through those hard moments. But what I didn't want to do is just wait for somebody else to tell me it was okay. Like, I just need to do this. I just need to try this. And I know listening to you, you've been that way too. Like, I remember while you got up early before the family got up to learn how to do certain things, right? Just to set aside time to say, yes, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I my day is taken up. It's already spoken for. And so I've never been a person to let time or the hours to come in my way. And so for me, the idea that there's hours at the bookend of the day is true. But unfortunately or fortunately, and the whole original reason on why I became an entrepreneur was so I would have time for my kids and my family. So my evenings, there's a core part of my evenings that are sacred. Once I log off from work, yes, I might be, as all us entrepreneurs and small business individuals do, we check emails, we respond to things in the evenings. That happens. But I'm not doing any core work or distracting work that would take me away from going to sports, having windshield time with my kids, enjoying them, being with my husband, things like that. So my evenings are sacred. So what does that leave me? That really leaves me my mornings. And where I was getting up at 6:30 in the morning to then get the kids ready and all of that, get them where they need to go, and then get into the core part of my day, there was really nothing else but to move that even forward more. And so, yeah, it turned into 4:30 sometimes or 5 o'clock in the morning, where then I could fit in learning, a workout, then I get into my day, then I've got my core work. I also have to have time for all of my journaling and spiritual work. Like that to me is extremely critical. And so I do that right before I then re-engage the family and the kids in the end of the day. And so movement is like in and of itself so important for me and for our family. And so that, yeah, I had to extend my day. I know that those types of hours and that type of effort isn't always sustainable constantly for long periods of time. So what I do is I ebb and flow in and out of that. So I'll say for 6 months, I'm just going for it. I gotta like push this business or this idea or my life over the next hurdle. And that's going to take time and it's going to take earthly effort. And so I'm going to get up at 4:30 in the morning for the next 6 months and we're just going to go and I'm not going to stop. And then you have to realize, like, okay, now I need to scale that back and get into more of like an easy flow where I have some slow mornings, some times where, yes, I'm still going. I'm still, like giving that effort and showing up to the effort. I'm not stopping, but I am also not trying to just heave ho it. And how I do that is again by enabling and empowering the world to help me out. I do that by bringing in people. I do that by, you know, having partnerships with people. I do that through technology. There's different ways that once you learn your and set up your systems, that you can then bring things in to alleviate the need for you. Because if you are your business, then you just have another job.
As they always say, work on your business, don't always work in your business, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to kind of bring it up a level. And I hear you saying is you started with some priorities. You said my priorities, if I'm paraphrasing back to you and hearing you correctly, is your time with your kids and the time with your husband, the space for your family, and then this, as you just said, space for yourself, right? You were saying, this is where I'm starting with how I want to live my day. And then I'm going to build my businesses around these core priorities for me. You didn't start off saying, I want to make $1 million for 2025, and then everything else flies out the window as you focus on that goal and priority. And I just picked that number out of the blue, right? If you
1 million is one of the steps on my wall.
went, right, right. But but that's the inverted period, that's your goal is reversed. You were saying, I'm not going to focus on a certain dollar amount for the bottom line. Yes, that has to be there because we all like to eat and pay our bills and things like that. But you're saying what is first is my family. And that was your personal goals of starting your businesses, and those businesses support and enhance those goals that you put out for yourself, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And with family, a very close third because, spirituality and the fact that like we're only here in our earthly bodies, that comes first. And then you've got this idea that we have then this family and our community, but there is also movement and health. And that also, I understand that that's stretchy. So during my high peak output times, that gets stressed. and that comes down a little bit. And I know that, but then I can prepare for that. I can also supplement and do extra support through that. And I also know when to pull my levers like, okay, I've gone too far. I need to come out for air. I need to take a break. And my husband's phenomenal at supporting through that. Like he knows when I start a new endeavor, it's time for him to shift into like being the core caretaker for the kids. So he's on point for them. I'm there, I'm engaging, but he takes more of an emotional and physical role in helping them get places or being there for them. For instance, when I do my early mornings, I need to be in bed by 9. But my oldest, who's 14, maybe doesn't go to bed till 10. So I go to bed, I say goodbye to everybody and good night, and he makes sure that he has the 14-year-old and makes sure that she gets in bed so that I can continue to do this, not only just for me, but it's for my family, it's for the world, it's for my kids. So yeah, that all if I don't prioritize my family and I don't prioritize my health and movement, to me, the rest doesn't happen. And it also just defeats the whole purpose of why am I working so hard? Because I want this all to succeed. There's this other piece too that, I really look at and value, which is my two girls seeing me do this. So they see me get up early to work out, and I'm exhausted and I'm tired. And when it's 10 degrees out, I definitely don't want to, but they see me do it and they see me continue to then be there for them. And they see me to prioritize my health. They see me working to learn. Like, I mean, I also like dabble in crypto and
Great.
invest in crypto, right? I knew nothing
Yeah.
about crypto. And I go, I need to figure this out. So purchased a course, went through it. You know about that journey as well. And
Hmm.
uh, in doing that, it shows them that it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter what age you're at or what phase you're at in your life. When you get that nudge to go and that curiosity nudge, but then that like, I need to nudge, I need to figure this out, you just do it.
You
You
just
got
do
to
it.
just show up and you got to do it.
Yeah, and you just try. And yeah, like crypto's a good example. You got started and then I got started because of you. But did we learn? No, and my daughter being in college, I'm like, well, you're going to study, I'm going to study. I'm always learning something, right? Because if you just don't go out and do it, you don't do it. I remember right before my dad passed years ago now, he just looked at me in wonder. He goes, I can't believe you've traveled to so many countries in the world. How did you do it? And I said, I went and bought a plane ticket and said, I'm just going to go. Like you pick your country and you just go. And he's like, well, how did you do it? I'm like, Dad, I got on an airplane and just went. I was like, I don't know how to explain this to
Right.
you any way else. And I said, and learning something in businesses, the thing about owning your own business, you are never bored. You are should or never bored because the conditions are changing, your demographic, who you are selling product or services to is changing, the world is changing. Like it's a moving target all the time. You're changing who you are on the inside and what your personal needs are and how that happens. So every day you're learning, right? But I think keeping those priorities at least helps me, and it seems like it helps you. So for other business owners out there listening to this, or people who want to be business owners, it isn't about just pulling up the P&L or the profit and loss sheet and going, I need to create a budget for this business. Yes, that is very important. Don't forget that part. But what most people forget is their priorities about themselves and what this means for them. Like, why? Why are you doing a business? There has to be a why in there somewhere. We all have a why. but you need to find it and hold that. And you also need to find your priorities and hold that up there as well as your financials. I think they're equally as important
Yeah.
as your financials, your priorities, and the why you're even working so hard to do this, right? Because it is work and you do have to sometimes turn yourself into a pretzel to make it work. And not all the time, but keeping those ideas there, I think, and I've been doing this a really long time, since 1997, starting businesses. And I've seen a lot of businesses come and go, and a lot of them are like they don't have a why and they don't have their priorities. They just have a lot of hopes. And
Yeah.
that's important too, but it doesn't always make everything work.
No. The other thing, I saw a quote, I don't know, some years ago that said the reason some businesses make it and some don't is because the businesses that made it just never stopped. So that is another thing is instead of focusing always on the output of the business and the results of the business, if you focus on the everyday habits of your business, the most of the time the rest will fall into place. And again, those everyday habits include a lot of really boring things. Owning your business, most of like what I do every day is show up to really boring things and doing a
That's
lot
true.
of like everyday grueling things I don't want to all the time, but I know that it feeds this greater purpose, and that's what helps. So I make it a non negotiable to go through all of those daily habits, and daily habits lead to then monthly successes, which lead to yearly results if you're doing all of those things in that place. And you were talking about having your priorities or values established. So I do that in two ways. One, every year I revisit my why statement and my values, my personal values and my business values. I like that they're both the same. My business values and my personal values are the same. And that helps me stay centered in why I do all of my businesses. But I relook at those every year to make sure that they're still valid, they're still aligned. And then I also do kind of like a mini review on myself to say, how did I do? You know, how did I do on that in the past? And how do I want to like refocus in the future? I do this at least twice a year, but I've heard of others who do it just once a year. Then that goes right up on my wall. I have a vision wall where I've got what like audacious goals that I think I will never achieve, but that I'm going for. Then the next layer is about like the particulars of that goal. So, is it's like 30 million and completely free, And then, okay, but what does that really look like? And then I go down and the next layer of that wall is all about, if you guys know Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad, Poor Dad quadrants, that is like, how am I moving through the quadrants? Am I an employee? Do I own my job yet? Do I own a business yet? Am I an investor yet? And how much? And I've got sticky notes that move along that quadrant to show like where are my businesses, where is everything? And that I revisit constantly. Anytime something changes, I look up there and revisit it. I also have some fun things up there, like I've got my goodness, a flying rainbow tiger with some jewels on them, just to like reminding me that this is also supposed to be fun and magical. And then at the very bottom is like all of the good stuff that I focus on and enjoy every day because I'm working on those things. So I own an incredible home that fits us, that is warm and phenomenal. My kids are so smart and passionate about their lives and just so healthy and wonderful. And it's a joy to know them. I have a phenomenal relationship with my husband, and he doesn't talk a lot, but he shows it in his actions. So all of that, just that is what I get to have and enjoy. So that helps me constantly like that. I look at that every day. And then I've got abundance meditations and things that I actually write out like my perfect, beautiful day and future, all the things I want, anything that I want to tack onto that, like special notes about things I want to let go of or go for. And I record it. I record myself saying it because what I wasn't doing is I wasn't reading all of that every morning. And so what I do is I recorded myself saying all of this, and then I play it as I'm getting ready in the morning. And that kept me consistent to hear my messages. And that's a one tactic that absolutely changed everything for me because I'll tell you what, I'm not going to sit and read like pages and pages of my visions. And it's just like I couldn't stay consistent with it. So having my own voice speak to me while I get ready in the morning with all reminding me of that. And every time I listen to it, I hear something different, even though I've been doing this now for 3 years. Like every day I listen to this message and it's about abundance. It's about all these things that I want. But just for you, if you're wondering, like, how do you keep your values at the heart of your business? How do you consistently do that? Those are three things that I do religiously. And it has helped so much because then when I think of another business idea, I bounce it off the wall. I bounce it off of my, vision statements and the things I'm listening to. I bounce it off of my values and goals for the year. And if it doesn't fit, then it's got to get put on the back burner for a little bit. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So it stops the squirrels,
Yeah.
right? Like, ooh, that's bright and shiny. I want to go try that because that sounds like a lot of fun. But you have guardrails up.
I
Wow,
have
this is
to.
pretty
Yeah.
cool. I think we're going to leave it there today
Cool.
on those exercises because I mean, you just summed it up perfectly. First of all, show up, number one, to show up and do the hard stuff, even if you don't want to. And we all have hard stuff that we don't want to do, things, and that's different for every person. And then the outline you just gave us with, having your own personal guardrails with like a vision board and your goals, your priorities, your meditations. I love you speaking yourself back to them, every day
Yep.
that you recorded those and that because that just, there's so many studies that have been done that it takes a daily practice to keep your mind on a positive track versus spinning out of control into the doubts. We
Okay.
all have those as small business owners. Like we hit the negative doubt pond and we can totally drown in it. So you're keeping yourself out of that and by these tactics. And they're cheap and free to do if you own a phone,
Yes.
right? It's not
Right.
hard. So
Well,
I
yeah.
think we'll leave it there. So thank you, Shannon, for coming to Under the Hood. It's been great. Thank you so much. And we'll all see you next time on our next podcast.
Thanks
Thanks.
for having me.
Bye.